One, two, three.
Hello. Welcome to X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show.
Hello.
Rogue would also like to say hello.
It's like the shortest clip in the history of time. Like, oh, wait, what was that? What happened?
Who are you?
Uh,
Who are you?
I guess they mean both of us.
Okay, we
Well,
better start.
I am your host, Davalanche, Davin Skellhorn, along with my co-host, as always, Androcalypse, Andre Mayette.
Now, Andre Mayette, that is me.
It's an Androcalypse now,
That's
not tomorrow.
right.
Well,
This
tomorrow,
moment.
if you listen to us tomorrow, it's actually Androcalypse whenever you want it.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's on demand. Whenever you want a Drocalypse, he's there 24/7, ready and willing to give and receive. Take that as you will.
I will. We're here to talk about Season 1, Episode 9 of X-Men the Animated Series.
Don't you mean Season 1, Episode 8?
The numbers, take those as you like, basically, but
it sucks when you're trying to watch these on Disney Plus or look up some information about the show, because like when you're trying to do research, there's like 100 things that are all the different numbers don't line up. There's like, well, this is the way it should have went, but then it went this way, and then that didn't work, but that worked. But there's Juggernaut, but he's not there, and they reference this, but that was later. So
basically,
right. It's as convoluted as the actual history of the comic book X-Men. So,
but if you follow the shape of the X-Mansion, it's all quite clear.
That's true. That's true. If you put that spire in the right place, as Rogue does in this particular episode, then you'll be all right.
She does drop a good spire, doesn't she?
She does drop a good spire.
We have a comment from the audience here. Are y'all getting the Marvel Legends X-Men animated series?
Is it the toys? Is it the Marvel Legends X-Men animated series?
Oh, maybe they do. No, I don't have those as toys, but I got these toys. We got Gambit here. We got Rogue here. We got
a bunch
toys.
Of statues, but I don't. There's mostly Spider-Man stuff. I don't know. I don't think I have any X-Men stuff.
I'll keep
Star Wars. I got a lot of Thanos. There's some Thanos. X-Men.
Yeah. We got some Wolverine and some Gambit fighting it out here.
There's literally nothing X-Men related in my toys, in my statues. Wow, that's disappointing. I think I need at least a Quicksilver.
Yes, the toys. Blake Quammen says. Totally worth checking out. And I definitely check them out. I mean, I love the
totally check them
out.
The Marvel Legends series are awesome. They're fantastic figures. And it's only like the fact that you can buy really cool PVC figures for like $60 that stops me from buying these 6-inch like action figures for $35. They're crazy expensive. Like I remember buying them back in the day and just getting the ones I wanted. Like you can't see, I don't know if you can see in that rack over there. There's the Janice Vell Captain Marvel where he was kind of wearing the green Spartan costume like his dad initially was created. It was when he kind of became like a Cosmic Punisher character, which is one of my favorite runs of Peter David's arc in that. So like that one alone, I think I bought it at a con and it was like $50 or something, just because I really love that character. But I mean, I got all these Diamond Select PVC figures, like Rocketeer ones that are like this big that are like $60. It's like I'd rather spend a little more for an actual thing. But yeah, there are some cool X-Men ones too. I got to get some.
You could spend a lot and get Hot Toys.
That's true. I mean, I do have an Infinity Gauntlet that's worth like $1,000 right now. Do you want to see what that looks like?
Yeah, throw it up on screen. Well,
so this is this is actually a statue. You can see the thing that's in the bottom there. It sits in a base that lights up. This was it's actually a statue. You can kind of put your hand in if you take this part out, which is a magnet. But the stones light up once it's on its base. And when this came out, I got it for cost because I worked at a comic store, which was still expensive. But now it's like out of print, so it goes for like $1,000 or something, maybe more. So this is probably one of the most expensive things I own.
One of the coolest, that's for sure.
It's pretty sweet. I do love it so.
Well,
Previously on X-Men.
Well, previously on X-Men, where did we leave off? Right about here, I think.
I must first find my sister and maybe see more of America. After I fix your house.
I just love the music they play whenever Colossus does anything. It's like this. It sounds kind of like The Godfather. Like it's this sort of like pseudo-Italian, like European, vaguely European, like Spanish guitar kind of thing, where it's like, so it's European. It's over there somewhere. We don't know. But, I just love that sort of vaguely European music they play whenever Colossus does anything. It's great.
Y'all looking for a rematch?
No, it's review. She always messes that up. But Andre definitely has a scene-by-scene a recap for us.
All right. So
not a rematch. Rogel.
It starts on a Roger Rabbit cartoon where Roger Rabbit is not being able to have... Oh, sorry, I got confused.
We're all confused here.
Yeah, this isn't the Roger Rabbit Appreciation Podcast? Shit, that's like my favorite movie. It actually is. If you're doing an Andre scorecard, it's like if I had to pick a favorite movie of all time, and I'm a big movie guy, it's Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And we can talk about that later. Side note, this actually podcast we're talking about. So we pick up with like in a vaguely maybe Aspen, I'm guessing, based on or somewhere in a European country. It's pretty vague, but somewhere
in the Alps, yeah, because
the Alps.
She has his lady has a European accent for sure.
Her lady, who is named Gisela, by the way.
Oh, really?
Which is like the writers thinking, let's make a name that sounds vaguely recognizable, but try to exotic it up a little bit by adding an at the end. So we'll call her Gisela, a name that no one's ever had in the history of time. But for the sake of this show, and we need to make her sound exotic and foreign, we'll add an A to the end of Giselle and call her Giselle.
What does Gisela sound like, you ask?
They say you keep a mad scientist up here. Dr. Frankenstein, perhaps?
Dr. Frankenstein?
I have to say, man, they certainly don't. I mean, I know this is the 90s, and it was a different time, but that argument doesn't...
A great time.
It was a great time, but that argument doesn't go too far with me when it comes to, like, stereotypes. And I just love anything vaguely European. And she's so like she's got that exasperated, sexy voice for everything. Like, oh, I hear you keep a mad scientist up here. It's a Dr. Frankenstein. Like it's also like bedroom voice kind of stuff. It's hilarious.
Yeah, she's pretty great.
That's how women flirt. They talk about mad scientists, by the way. We cut with Gisela and Warren Worthington, who, if you know anything about X-Men, that name may mean something to you, and you'll learn more in a second. Sit in a chateau, if you will, some kind of a log cabin, where Gisela is, says...
I believe he calls it his chalet.
I did say chalet, didn't I?
You said chateau.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Gavin, the grammar police.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, chateau, which is a term for... Wait, you said chalet, right? Did I say chateau?
You said chateau, but he says
chalet. That makes more sense. Ski chalet is usually the term they use for that sort of thing. So that makes more sense if they're skiing. And, he's got that sweet Umbro tracksuit on, so I'm guessing they're skiing.
He does.
So, she mentions that Warren's been hanging out with some crazy mad scientist, Dr. Frankenstein, perhaps, which is the joke. Warren says his name is Gottfried Adler, and he's gone off to Scotland to do some research, but he's been working with him. She tries to get close to him. He says she got to get her home, and she protests as to why he always pushed her away.
You wouldn't want to get close to me. Not if you knew what I was really like.
Perhaps something to hide, young
You know what's the best way to stop women that are interested in you from pursuing you? Is to take them away alone in a ski chalet in front of a fire. That's the best way not to give them a mixed signal that you don't particularly want to advance your relationship to the next level. It's like let's go sit alone by the fire in this wooden sexy chalet, and then I will reject you.
That certainly always worked for me. No.
Yes, that's where I bring all of the women I don't want to pursue me, is to my sexy ski chalet, while I have flowing blonde hair and I'm super rich and jacked.
Angel wings.
Yes, well, that comes later. Don't get ahead of me now.
All right, my bad.
We're painting a picture here. I mean, we assume most people have seen this. If you haven't, well, what the hell are you doing listening to this thing? You got to watch. I assume
this podcast is better if you've watched the episode.
It certainly would be. I mean, I guess we don't really talk about it, but we should give homework in the sense that, next episode, watch that episode before we talk about it. It is fun
Yeah.
to riff and go through it, but it does certainly help if you've seen it. So watch it. It's on Disney Plus.
It is.
I don't want to encourage downloading illegally, but if you have to, do what you got to do. We won't talk about it. Disney's not listening. If they are, give us some money. We're promoting your product. All right.
And we'll stop with the illegal.
And we'll stop encouraging our fans to illegally download it. It's really a win-win here, Disney. I mean,
It's kind of like blackmail, but
no, it's more of extortion.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's fine.
Yeah, no, those two are very different things.
Yeah.
Wink. To the camera people that are watching us, that are watching the video. Then we cut to old Cable, who was returned. He didn't die in the flood back on Genosha, the wild man of Borneo.
Good guy.
He is trudging through the snow towards the old chalet. He sneaks in and then hides behind a bookcase while Warren goes to investigate for some reason. The noise he heard. Then Cable put I love how Warren's looking around the room for Cable, and then Cable puts his hand through the bookcase and grabs him in something out of a horror movie. So you just see the hand come through the books from the other side.
Are you Adler? I'm Warren Worthington, the third.
That's where you
The
get
third. That's important. When you're in a fight for your life with a stranger that broke into your house, you really want to get the specifics of your name right down, because Cable left and looked him up. He may look up the second, and that's the wrong guy. He needs to know it's the third.
But honestly, it's the best way to get a guy to tell you who he is grab him by the scruff first when you're the super jacked guy with guns and say, "Are you Adler?" Because even if he is, he's gonna be like, "No."
Yeah, of course.
Whereas if you were just polite, Adler, "Are you Dr. Adler?" He'd be like, "Well, yes, I am."
Yeah, wear a nice suit, show up, say you've won a sweepstakes. It's for it's like when they're trying to serve you documents for court. They have to get you to admit who you are. But you do it in a nice way. You get to show up. You say, "Hey, you won the sweepstakes. Are you Dr. Adler?" And if he says yes, then you give him the check and then kill him, as Cable is trying to do. So, yes, and then Worthington sets him straight, says no. He's gone to Scotland. Cable says, "You mean..." Oh, no, sorry, that comes later. So they get in a bit of a fight. Cable shoots him with his gun.
If you got to shoot somebody, make sure you hit him.
Yeah, that's a good line because, Warrington tries to shoot at him, misses. Cable says that. No, sorry. Angel says that, right? No, Cable says that.
Cable says that.
Because then Angel says something.
Good idea.
Tries to shoot him, then misses, and then Cable shoots him. He falls out the window into a snowbank.
Short memory.
You got a short memory.
To which he responds with that, which is great. Cable's such a badass. It's so wonderful.
Oh, he is, man. He's not one of my favorite characters in the comics at all, but I'm loving him so far on this show. He's just
as far as going with this sort of vague, mysterious military badass type dude. He fills the role quite well. So
ultra badass who speaks in sick one-liners.
He's always throwing grenades too, his second, he's either shooting or he has some random grenade that's perfect for the situation that he just grabs off a belt and huffs, and then gets somebody at midair.
You were mocking '90s pouches. I think.
Well, no, that's not a pouch. That's a bandolier. That's a bandolier. They're all on a bandoliers are fine.
That's true. That's true.
Pouches. The pouches are unnecessary. It's a lot of pouches. I mean, if you need to carry that much stuff on you at all times, I mean, Batman just gets away with the belt. It's all he needs. I mean, I'm sure Cable will be fine with just a belt. He doesn't need patches on his fucking ankles, for God's sakes. How are you going to find time in a battle to reach at your ankles and pull out your pouch? Ben Reilly, the clone Spider-Man, when he was the Scarlet Spider, had pouch anklets. What is he putting in them? The spare web cartridges? I guess so, but it doesn't seem convenient. He has a belt. It goes around the costume. You can see it. Put it in there. That's what the belt's for. All right. Side note.
Oh, ankle pouches are coming back.
Okay. If I see you walking around in public with little ankle fanny packs, I'd be I'd be very impressed.
You'll see them this summer.
All right. So then Gisela.
We're starting trends here.
That's it. We're trendsetters here at the X-Rated, the X-Men animated movie show. So Gisela returns. Cable asks where Adler is. She says he's off in Scotland. Cable says, "You mean Muir? Why can't I pronounce this? Muir Island." Angel snaps out of the snow, busts his wings out, as we now can call him Angel because we know he is Angel. Flies up, has an extended fight sequence with Cable briefly. knocks him down. Gisela, who is kind of shocked by the thing, grabs the gun and can't really see well because a blast happened near her. She takes a shot, hits Angel, knocks him out the window. Actually, Cable first escapes. He jumps out the window looking for Adler. And then when she's coming to, she grabs the gun, takes a shot, thinking it's Cable, hits Angel, goes out to look for him. He flies away. So
No, I didn't mean to.
But you did. You should look at what you shoot at, Gisela.
Yeah, I love how every mutant in this show has to be tortured. Nobody can have a happy existence. Nobody can just like have a good relationship or not be tortured by the fact they're mutant. Especially,
I mean, that's X-Men comics too, man.
I know, but like especially like I know they have Jean and Scott, so they find each other, you know. But through the war of mutants versus humans, but like it's just every like, and especially in a show where they're trying to teach you that maybe mutants don't need to be cured, especially in this particular episode, where it's like, you should embrace your differences. But man, it's like, you should embrace your differences and like, be happy and not seek a cure. You should be you and be good with that. But then also all of society and everyone you ever may love in the future will reject you or shoot you or cast you aside or kick you out of their club. The only place you'll be safe is in this school with this bald guy and a bunch of other weirdos. And that's it. That's what you got.
Well, we had a happy guy.
This one's for you.
Yeah, look what happened to him. He got murdered.
So he had to go. He was too
That's right. We
content
can't
with
have a
being a
happy
mutant.
Yeah, he's just living his best mutant life, and they killed him
This
for
mutant
it.
stuff's great, guys. Like, oh, he's gonna ruin the show.
So then we cut to Muir Island, where Professor X is talking with Moira McTaggart, a cartoon character with possibly the worst Irish accent in the history of cartoon characters. Not to be a snob, I've been to Ireland. Nobody has sound like Moira McTaggart does in this episode. I must say. So anyway, they're hanging out, talking about Dr. Adler's work. Professor X says he wants to look at it. She says he can't. Adler, in another great example of any time you have a foreigner in a cartoon character from a different country, they always have to slip some kind of word in their native language into whatever they say, just to hammer home the fact that they're from that country. In this particular episode, they ring through to try to talk to Adler, and Adler says, "Visitors are forbidden."
Forbidden.
Forbidden.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, it's trying to just ham.
It's Moira McTaggart. I have an old friend here who's interested in your work. Professor Xavier from America.
I'm Moira McTaggart.
Yeah, she just. I mean, maybe I'm a bit harsh on the accent. It's not that bad,
Pretty
but
good accent.
It's okay. It's not quite. It doesn't sound natural. So yes, the Adler is German, as stated. Professor X tries to read his mind and gets a bunch of images of a blue woman who, if you know anything about X-Men comics, resembles Mystique, and another blue and gray man who have robotic proportions that, if you know anything about X-Men comics, resembles Apocalypse. And then he passes out after trying to read, read Adler's mind from a distance. While waking and recovering from passing out from this, he talks to McTaggart.
Moira McTaggart.
Yeah, McTaggart, and surmises perhaps that Adler himself may be mutant if he's being stuck with all these visions, trying to read his mind. So then we cut back to the X-Men who are working away and building the X Mansion. Wolverine's being a particular douchey in this particular scene, just being a real jerk to Gambit. He's like, anytime Gambit does anything, he's like, "Watch this, Cajun. You might learn something."
Yeah, I got that.
Keep an eye on me, Gambit. You might learn something.
Yeah, exactly.
And
he's
Rogue
like
before
using his
that.
claw to cut boards in half, and then using one claw to spread concrete on bricks, which seems, if that goes back in your body, I don't think I want it covered in wet concrete when I retract it back into my my wrist there, Wolverine. I mean, I know you don't have to worry about hygienicness that much, but I think it might get gummed up at least. It might get stuck in there once it hardens.
It's a tight fit. It probably just pushes it all out as it goes back in,
Well, that's convenient.
And then he has a little flirting time with Jean.
He does. He still hasn't given up on that.
I always did like working with my hands.
Was that innuendo?
I would say so. I don't know what else it would be. So then she says, "I'd rather work with my mind," and then uses her mind to make all these telepathic, make all the nails hammer into where she needs on the panel. He's more of a douche to Gambit. Gambit's had enough and irradiates. I want to say radiates, not right, but powers up a brick and puts it back in the pile that Wolverine's grabbing from.
Yeah.
He sees it. He goes to get out of the way. I think Cyclops shoots it out of the way, so it blows up on its own, and gets mad at Gambit for pulling a prank like that. Gambit,
Dangerous pranks.
Yes, and then Gambit says that Wolverine's a dick, and
Like
they
that.
argue a little bit.
Thick storm. Better add some water. Big expert. Always giving orders. Making up for your screw-ups, Gumbo.
It's like, how is Gambit been screwing up?
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not sure what these screw-ups were. I mean, he wasn't there to fight Juggernaut, but he's just Gambit hasn't really done anything wrong in the run of these episodes. In fact, he's done a lot of right. He saved a lot of people.
I think it's just how Wolverine has a good time, because he actually is having a good time in this scene. This is the kind of stuff he likes to do. He's 200 years old. He's probably built like 20 houses. So, he probably does have expertise. But
so as they square off to fight, Rogue comes and drops the spire from the building, which is just a concrete shell at this point, over Gambit to separate the two of them. And, gets after them for being jerks. Okay.
Oh, yeah, well, there's...
I always thought you had a soft spot for that Cajun.
About as soft as you, fathead.
Which is a good line.
What a bit of a venom he puts on that Cajun.
I know, it's
some
like
slur.
It's like the word. Like, come on, man. You're a Canadian, living in fucking Rochester. Where are we at? We're in New York somewhere. Westchester, New York. So he's pretty rough on the old Cajuns. I mean, Cajuns are from Canada, so. Maybe have a little. You're probably around when they were expelled 200 years ago. So maybe have
the Ellen.
Yeah, you may have helped them, you jerk. Load them on the boat. So anyway, so they're interrupted by Jubilee, who runs up saying, "Guess who wants to talk?" And it's old Professor X on the TV screen, telling them about this potential cure that he's investigating on Muir Island in Scotland.
Dr. Adler claims his process can reverse genetic mutations within each cell of the body.
What?
What?
Catches a little interest from Rogue there.
Yes, Rogue, of course, who throughout the earlier scene when they're building and stuff, Rogue notices Jean and Cyclops holding hands during this talk. And, you can tell that it hurts her that she's reminded that she cannot touch another human being. I believe there is a flash. Is that right here or is that next? So she goes off on her own.
You mean steal our powers?
It could be used as a weapon against us.
There's a lot of discussion here.
There is a lot of discussion.
Might welcome the chance to become normal.
Yeah? Who?
I mean, those two are bickering, but here's actually the real important one which will come up later.
You have taught us to value our powers, Professor. Not for their own sake, but for what they can do for others.
That may come back around. That may be very important.
It may be the crux of the entire episode, Devin.
It may be.
It just may be the whole point of this entire show. Not the show, but this episode. Rogue is noticing this, and then, Xavier says there's no right or wrong answer. I mean, it's up to each mutant to decide what they want to do. Wolverine says there's no traitors here, to which we zoom in on a painful-looking Rogue, who takes some umbrage with that phrase because her life has been troubled due to her abilities. We cut to her thinking about, being a teenager when this guy tries to kiss her and she knocks him out. She decides to leave. She gets in her car for some reason, even though she can fly. She decides to get in her very fancy sports car. Gambit tries to follow her. She tells him to get out, or she kicks him out, I believe. She throws him out. She throws him right out of the car, doesn't she, while she's driving?
Before that, though,
in one hand and just turfs him out of the car.
Cyclops is supposed to be the leader, right?
Yeah.
I'm worried about Rogue, Cyclops.
Rogue? Why?
Rogue, why? He never notices anything about his team. Anyway, I mean, she's basically Deanna Troi, so she has an advantage. Jean Grey.
Look, stop trying to make this Star Trek related.
I can do it. I can make anything.
Nothing X-Men and Star Trek related except the Next Generation X-Men crossover comic book that happened.
I have that up on my wall here, signed by David Finch.
Nice. Did Finch do the art in that? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's odd considering he's pretty highbrow for comic fans, as far as his work goes.
Pretty old comic.
Well, it's probably when he's starting out.
But yeah, as you were saying about
Muir Island's no good for you. How about we go to Paris instead?
How about about getting your butt out of my car.
She like grabs him and like turfs him out of the car. He does a cool little fancy flip and lands on his feet, runs around, dives over the hedge from the inside, and lands back in the car. And then she says, he says something about kissing her or something to that effect, or staying with him. She says, "You want to wind up in the hospital?" And he says, "Maybe some things are worth it." She gets angry and leaves. So, there's some of the seeds of this Rogue Gambit romance that we all know from the comics, which is fun. I always thought they were a nice pair. Although I always find it, we'll get to this later, but I always find it funny that it's, like the whole episode of this is basically Rogue learning to appreciate what she has and not feel like she's cursed by her abilities. But also, these collars exist that stop your powers. It might be all right for her to like throw one on to, go on a date and have sex and, kiss somebody and, do all that sort of fun stuff every once in a while. You think that would be acceptable to her? I feel as though perhaps also Gambit.
I never thought of that.
Yeah.
Good point.
Just throw a collar on her every once in a while when she wants to do something social.
I think the Androcalypse just found a plot hole.
Well, I mean, they were in Genosha. You think they might have grabbed one and brought it back with them when they, for her sake anyway. She flies away, hitches a ride on a plane, sits on the wing, and freaks out a guy in an homage to
there's something on the wing.
Yes, to the Twilight Zone episode and also the movie starring John Lithgow and the episode starring William Shatner, about a gremlin being on the wing. So he looks out.
This isn't about Star Trek, Andre.
I just mentioned Shatner. He's an actor. He's doing other things besides Star Trek, Might I draw your attention towards Tech War?
No, Boston Legal.
I think Tech War is what we need to talk about. Perhaps a miscongeniality.
I like that movie, actually.
And a bunch of other stuff. He went to space with Jeff Bezos. We could talk about that. But we don't need to. This is an X-Men podcast.
It is.
So, yeah, she flies off to on the wing of an airplane, hitches a ride, which is funny because, okay, so I don't know how much what Ms. Marvel's core abilities are. I mean, I know what the movies have shown, and I remember vaguely from the comics, but it's still vague about she's superhuman, strong, fly, the powers. We'll get to later where Rogue got her ability to do all this stuff, which is taken from Ms. Marvel. But she's sitting on the wing of a plane at a high altitude. Does she not get cold? Like she would be frozen solid on the wing of an airplane. They have to de-ice the wings of airplanes when they travel because they're so high and they get icy.
So maybe she was just taking some like short rests on the wing, and then
perhaps, but like it's a long flight. I don't know how taxing flying is. If you're flying as a mutant to fly, I know for Worthington when like his wings actually flap, that would probably be tiring after time goes on. I don't know if you're just like Superman flying where you just sort of hover, if that actually is like physically taxing on you or not. But it's a pretty long flight on an airplane from here to Scotland. It's about 6 hours. So,
I'd want to sit down if I was her.
Yeah. So she hangs out in the wing, freaks out this one guy who, thinks he's seeing things when he complains to the stewardess. You can see him pointing in the window there.
Yeah.
And then she flies off. She pulls out this giant book, which shows an outline. I guess this would be an atlas of what the island looks like. She looks at it from the air to compare that she's found the right island, which is funny because Scotland has a lot of islands. It's just like this giant book, and like the picture in the book is perfect to when she looks down at the island. Like it's almost like the same image. And then she just tosses it. Like I like in cartoons when people have giant things like books that are like a dictionary, like it's thick. And she takes it and just puts it behind her and disappears. It just goes into a back pouch somewhere, and it's safely tucked away and not visible for the rest of the episode.
90s pouches were spacious.
Well, I'm going to bring a deep cut on you. Do you know, are you familiar with a Marvel character called Slapstick?
Oh, of course. I love Slapstick, the human cartoon.
Wow. Yes, the human cartoon. So he was created in the 90s and then brought back somewhat during the
Mercs for Money
Avengers Academy sort of series when after the Civil War happened, when all the young mutant people young people with powers had to sign up and train to be Avengers. Interesting character, and I always really liked him. I feel like he hasn't got enough attention in the Marvel universe, and I like to see more of it. He's basically like
because he's basically a Roger Rabbit character.
Yeah, it is like it's a cartoon character superhero living in the real world, which is kind of fun. But they have like random jokes, and I guess they did that in Spider-Verse as well, with Spider-Ham, where it's like, they have these giant mallets and things that seem to come out of nowhere. Like, where does he store it all? But it's like some weird pocket dimension that he just reaches into and pulls out whatever weapon he needs. That's kind of exclusive to cartoons, which I think is funny. But it seems like Rogue might be able to tap in to said dimension.
Could be.
So then we cut to a Scottish pub in which we meet Avalanche and Pyro.
Muir Island. What a dump.
Like how Avalanche sort of is like, he kind of sounds like that guy. I can't remember his name. He played Shao Kahn in the terrible Mortal Kombat Annihilation movie. He was in X-Files. He played that alien bounty hunter that popped up every once in a while.
You know what else is in?
What?
Several episodes of Star Trek as different characters.
Yes, as different aliens. That's correct. I can't remember his name, but he sounds kind of like that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I can look it up, but it'll take a long pause for me to look it up.
Yeah.
But anyway, that guy, Shao Kahn. and a super English sounding Pyro, who is also they're hanging out. Pyro is revealed. Sorry?
Yeah, go ahead.
Was Pyro always English in the comics?
No, he was English? Australian.
Was he? He's super English in this. He's definitely got a bit of a Cockney accent. And one of the points I'm going to bring up during the X points is related to that, who he reminds me of.
Well, he gets called out on that.
Are we becoming impatient, old stick?
The name's Avalanche, Limey.
Limey gets called. Oh, actually.
This friend of yours better show up soon, or I'm going back to jail. Just for something to do.
I thought that was...
So he escapes from being a slave in Genosha. These two both did, because we've seen them on Slave Island. And then he's like, I'm going to go back to jail. That's funner than hanging out in a Scottish bar. And I can explain to you that sitting in a Scottish bar is awesome. And I would happily do that more than go to any prison or any slave island. So Avalanche does not know what's up.
Nothing to steal.
So Pyro mentions that he's waiting for somebody, a shapeshifter named Mystique. When Rogue enters, he says that could be her, and then
that could be Mystique now.
What do you mean could be?
And then he explains she's a shapeshifter, so she could look like anybody. He goes up, tries to make a connection. Rogue thinks he's just hitting on her and basically throws him through the wall. Seems like a fairly, I guess attractive women are probably hitting all the time and probably sick of it. But
his pickup line is to set a table in the bar on fire.
Yeah, because she just says she doesn't know who he is, and he says something.
Looking for me, love?
I sincerely doubt it.
They call me Pyro. In the mood for a hot date?
It's like, no, because now we all have to evacuate this bar because you just set a table on fire.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I get flexing, but maybe bit too much.
They don't respect Scottish bars at all.
So, Avalanche sees her dispatch his friend. He comes running into the rescue. She throws him directly. Pyro gets stuck in the wall. Now, if I recall correctly, Pyro just can control fire. He can't even create it. That's why he has the things attached to him to make fire.
Fuel pack. Yeah, he carries around
he's not
gasoline.
super strong. She throws him through a brick wall. If that would murder him, he would be dead. He's stuck in the wall with his head through the outside. I mean, if you're a regular human being that can control fire, but you're not super strong, that would kill you. You would be dead. If your
Rogue aimed for a soft spot in the wall.
Your head would be goo before it went through the wall. Avalanche, however, makes sense. She threw him right through the wall, to which he cascaded down. Because everything in Scotland on an island is on a cliff. Everything is overlooking. No buildings are built in the center of a town. They're all built on cliffs for dramatic purposes. This is something I can tell you for certain. Having visited Scotland, this is how it is. Nothing.
And that's how we do it in New Scotland as well.
That's right. Here in Nova Scotia, also known as New Scotland, we build everything.
I'm on a cliff. Andre's on a cliff.
I am on a cliff.
We're on cliffs.
I can see Davin's cliff from mine. It's over there. Hey, Dev.
Yeah.
Do you even have a window there?
I'm in my basement. So
I was going to say, it looks like a basement, so I'm guessing there's no window to your left.
There is actually. Oh no, that one's blocked by the heat pump. There is one sort of to the left right there.
Oh, okay, well, that's the one that faces my house on the opposite cliff. So
definitely.
So Avalanche, of course, falls down into the water. Then does Pyro go down to the water too? I feel like he does. No, he goes down looking for Avalanche.
He sees like Cable in a boat or something, doesn't he?
No, Cable's standing on a rock off to the side.
He's
That's
standing
coming
on a
later.
rock.
So
Rogue goes looking for Adler, I believe.
She does. I feel like I'm just unclear on exactly what the order is here.
I didn't fly across the whole danged ocean to take no for an answer.
He's not answering.
So then she goes looking for Adler. He says visitors are forbidden once again. Forbidden. Visitors are how's my German accent? Visitors are forbidden. That sounds like good. Gotta work on that one.
That wasn't the best.
No, I feel like I can do a better German accent. The finest beer in the world. Something like that. Anyway, she she breaks the door open, goes see Adler, who says, explains her situation. Adler says he'll think about it, come back in an hour.
Oh, I love that. That was the most super villain thing ever.
Come back in 1 hour. I will have an answer for you then.
Only supervillains can never answer your question right away. First, I must set up all my evil machinations, and then I shall answer
come back
your question.
in an hour when I set up all the traps, and I'll give you an answer then.
But, she has a very touching point.
I don't want to live my whole life without knowing what it's like to touch another human being.
Yes, he asks why, if she's so powerful, why she wants to get rid of her powers, to which she responds that.
And she leaves because she has to come back in 1 hour.
That's right. And then we were revealed that Adler is actually Mystique, the shape changer, who talks to earlier in the episode when Giselle came in the room looking for Angel after he fell out the window. You could clearly see Cable standing behind the door, who slams it for dramatic purposes to let you know that he's standing back there to find out where Adler is. And then later, Apocalypse does the same thing. So when she ushers Rogue out and closes the door, you see Apocalypse, who himself is like a 1,000-year-old mutant, a despot, an incredible, possibly the most powerful mutant on Earth, definitely the oldest, a goddamn god essentially, and he's hiding behind the door, he's just chilling out. He's got his arms crossed behind the door. Got kind of a robotic sound. I like his voice.
People, she is a fool, but she has great powers.
John Colicos, the voice of Kor in Star Trek.
I like the voice a lot, quite a bit for Apocalypse.
Mm-hmm. No, it's great.
So then we cut to all. She's going off. Rogue. I may have got ahead of myself at this point. I think it's when Rogue is remembering kissing Cody and taking away his power, and all that sort of stuff.
Show me his pity tonight.
He's like, "You ever been kissed?" And she's like, "Well, I think I'm not gonna be if you keep talking about the moon," which is a nice line too. She's got a lot of good lines for sure.
She sure does. She's got a ton of personality.
We got the Pyro searching for Avalanche, who fell into the ocean. Who runs into Cable, who's in a. Well, first when Avalanche hit the water, he sees a motorboat going by with Cable in it, which I think is funny.
I knew there was a boat.
The Cable motorboat from the Alps to Scotland, from
Genosha to Scotland.
Well, no, because we saw him in the Alps earlier in the episode. He's just chilling, he's just got a regular rowboat with a motor on the end. He's just chilling around.
He's so cool.
I know, he's just and I love that he's just wearing all this military gear with shoulder pads and pouches to wherever while he's just motorboating his way in, just chilling out. He's got a beer in one hand. So then we cut to Pyro looking for Avalanche in the water. Runs into Cable, who's looking for Adler. They get in a bit of a scuff. Pyro gets shot and falls in the water, and Avalanche recovers him.
What did you do? Fall in?
Yeah, exactly. Which they decide that since Cable's looking for Adler and all these people are looking for Adler, that perhaps it's worth their while to kidnap Adler and ransom off to the highest bidder, as all, unintelligent flunky villains do. Which is let's just find the quickest way to make money. Let's kidnap this guy people want, and we'll get him for.
Well, it's he's met two people on the island so far, Pyro, and they've both been looking for Dr. Adler.
Yeah, so they're all right,
of course you are.
Yeah, so if two people in the run of your day ask you where someone is your next impulse to go kidnap them so you can ransom them off to make money?
In the Brotherhood.
Yes. Well, we're not at that point yet, which is interesting.
I suppose not.
Maybe it might be a point later. So then we go to Rogue, who goes back to Adler for the treatment. But Avalanche and Pylo arrive in the scene, kidnap the doctor before he can finish. Rogue and Cable pursue the two villains. Pyro and Avalanche discovered they're actually kidnapping their team member Mystique after they take Adler.
He's a woman. He's Mystique.
And you're a fool, Pyro.
She's a woman.
I feel like Avalanche is like they make him seem kind of slow and dumb.
Oh, he's definitely the dumb one in the group, which is funny.
I wonder if it's for the same reasons as the Shocker, because they both have like vibrational powers and like the vibrations made Shocker stupid. In the Spider-Man.
That was added later. That's not like a canon thing that carries through. That's something someone might have said before, but it's not something that's.
Oh no, that's canon. That was in the Superior Foes of Spider-Man.
Well, listen, I know the most about Spider-Man than anyone else. I even know the Shocker's real name, which is Herman Schultz.
You didn't even know his catchphrase until I told you last week.
The Shocker's catchphrase?
No, Spider-Man's.
It's great power comes great responsibility?
But that's not what it is.
What's Spider-Man's catchphrase? Friendly
must
Spider-Man?
also come great responsibility, and that's a difference. It's so different.
That's a semantic debate is what that is, and I'm not interested in that. What I'm interested in is finding out what happened with Pyro and Avalanche.
I find this frightfully confusing.
Frightfully confusing.
That's why they made him British instead of Australian.
Well, they're talking to Mystique. I want to bring that up later. When they're talking to Mystique, Mystique says that she's working with Apocalypse, and they're going to fuck it up. And basically, they deduce based on their conversation that he's not actually curing mutants. Apocalypse is enslaving mutants or to in his army. At that point, Rogue shows up looking for Adler, gets in a fight with Pyro and Avalanche. Mystique quickly turns back into Adler before Rogue can see that she is not Adler and runs off. While she runs off, she is captured by Cable, who's ready to kill Adler. While Rogue is being distracted because he found out that this Adler guy created this collar, which takes away mutants' powers, doesn't want it used. It's too dangerous to use against mutants, so he wants to kill him. He's going to have to push him off the cliff.
I found this line really funny.
The name's Cable. Last known address, Genosha. They used to turn mutants into slaves down there.
He's like the
gunslinger that comes to town. Like the lone samurai that comes to town and kills all the criminals, or the lone gunslinger that takes out the corrupt. He's like the
shady one. And
yeah, but he's like the one that just shows up.
Or like the white hat cowboy,
Yeah, well, he's like the black hat good cowboy. There's always there's one good cowboy in a black hat that always, gets up to troubles. It's not quite as, he's not what you call lawful good. But
then like Mystique Adler's is like, oh, you're making a mistake. And
Dr. Adler is already dead.
That's kind of hard to believe. Coming from you.
Dr. Adler, he's already dead. It's like, well, I'm looking at him right now and he's you. So you care to explain? To which Mystique returns back to Mystique and explains that he is now dead. So, I guess Mystique killed him somewhere between, because it was implied that he was alive when he made those collars. So I'm guessing Mystique or Apocalypse, or possibly a combination of the two, killed him at some point.
Yeah,
so while Cable was startled by this, she gets away, basically, runs off. Then the X-Jet appears.
Yeah.
Xavier, Cyclops, and Jean get into a fight with Cable. It's funny how
Drop the weapon.
No.
No. That was a father-son moment. Okay,
now this is inside baseball because we're talking about the show. And we also know a bit about the history of these characters because we know comics and we know X-Men. Does Cable know at this point that his father is Cyclops?
No.
Or that his mom is Jean Grey? Is Jean Grey his mom in this continuity, or is it still Madeline Pryor? I guess we'll find out when we get into that episode.
I guess we'll see.
All right. But, yeah.
I think he just knows, like, that he's Ascani's son,
He does know he's got son, you're saying?
No, Ascani. That's why he's called, like, Nathan Dayspring Ascani son. He was raised by a woman named Ascani. And I think that's all he knows.
Right. Okay.
At this point.
So, yeah, they shoot him. He falls off the cliff, but he catches the rock because, everything's on a cliff in Scotland, as we mentioned earlier. During the fight, Jean Grey herself also gets knocked. I think is it by? Who knocks her off the...
was it Avalanche?
I think it was Avalanche, perhaps. So Jean Grey falls over the side, to which Rogue makes the save and saves before she hits the water. And, of course, Cable's nowhere to be seen. We cut back to Rogue, who helps.
He's Dr. a wild man.
He's a wild man of Borneo. So Rogue helps Dr. Adler repair his equipment, declines having the surgery or the experiment because she discovered a newfound use of her abilities because she used her power to help her friends and save them when they needed her most. And she wouldn't want to give back.
I am my powers, and the good they can do for my friends and for the whole world.
It's almost like Storm knew all along.
It's almost like the lesson was learned. The whole lesson this episode was set out to teach us. So as she goes to fly away, she runs into Angel, who's also flying in. And like there's a funny little
Look out yourself!
She's got such attitude.
Like how often do you fly into another individual that's also flying into the same space you are, where you can like you'd think you wouldn't your initial reaction wouldn't be like, fuck you, get out of my way. You know,
it's like, just funny, cool. Like you have the enormity of 3-dimensional space, and yet somehow they run into each other.
Yeah,
it should be impossible, but you know they do have air traffic controllers.
Well, it's because it's like
not impossible.
Laboratory, and she's going out through the hole in the ceiling, and then of
course I guess
through the hole in the ceiling. So they're both going in the same area. So it makes sense here. I'm not gonna nitpick that one.
I take it back.
But Worthington comes in, says he wants to help, wants the treatment, blah blah blah. Then we cut to Mystique, who goes off, walks along this great little rock path in the water to go find Apocalypse, who appears before her and tells her that, she has someone else who could be a possible,
I found another mutant to become your slave.
They don't really dance around it on this show. To become your slave.
And then he's like, the millionaire? And she's like, how do you know? And he's like, I know a lot of things, basically.
That's the end of the episode.
Yeah.
I know more of this world than you have even dreamed. That is why I must destroy you.
A great stinger to end the episode on.
He's so convincing. You're just like
Mystique's very devoted to this guy, considering. Yeah, like she's very devoted to this guy, considering he wants to destroy the world to which he lives in. Like whenever villains want to destroy the world, it's like, where are you going to go when he destroys the world?
Which is, I hope they kind of flesh that motivation out a little bit. That's not really a very Apocalypse motivation. He's more like survival of the fittest. He just wants everyone to fight. So like the strong will survive the weak.
Yeah, we'll get to that. I know there's stuff coming on down the line.
Yeah, right.
It's funny that Cable. Did I talk about the Cable line that stuck in my head for my entire childhood before?
Was it in this episode?
No. I remember watching an episode of the show. I'm going to guess it's going to be next season based on what's happening unless it's next episode. But there's an episode where Cable, we learn more about where he's from or what his deal is. And he discovers that he has to actually help Apocalypse to prevent something worse. And he has a line that says, I will not help Apocalypse. Is this the way he says it? For some reason, it's stuck in my head. I still think of that line to this day. I'm 36 now. I probably watched it when I was 10 or 11. So that is the staying power of this cartoon.
It's you look as nervous as a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs.
And just the way he says it, it's so like, I cannot help Apocalypse. It's just like, I don't know. It's so like I
hate him so much.
Yeah, dramatic. I don't know. It's stuck in my head.
But
all right, so there we go.
We end these up. There we are. And Angel in his Defender's outfit, mind you.
Yeah, which is cool. I mean, I assume
the champions. Remember the champions?
I do remember the champions, made up of Submariner.
Oh, sure. The
Dr.
champions
Strange.
had
Silver Surfer, Ghost Rider. It was the weirdest combination of
Tigra, maybe. Hawkeye, maybe.
No, not Hawkeye. Come
Black
on
Widow.
now.
Black Widow is what I was thinking of.
Yes, the Black Widow was in it. Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
It was like Marvel was like, we have all these heroes that aren't in groups. Let's just throw them all together in a group. Was Iceman the champions?
Wasn't he?
It was Hercules. It was Iceman. Yeah, it was Hercules, Iceman, Angel, Ghost Rider,
maybe,
and Black Widow initially, and then other people came and gone as time went on. But that was the initial group, which is a really weird combination.
Yeah,
for sure. I feel like eventually, I mean, newer versions of the series have had like the young versions of Avengers. You had like your Miles Morales, Spider-Man, your Amadeus Cho, Hulk, those guys in a group. Your Sam, whatever, Nova. All those sort of younger kid heroes.
The new champions.
Yes, the new champion.
I like that team. It's pretty cool.
I do too. It was fun. You had I think it was Cyclops too. The
all new X-Men.
Cyclops. Yeah, the all new X-Men from the past Cyclops, who's still a teenager, and of course Ms. Marvel. Yeah, so good group.
Well, I guess that brings us to ratings from
When,
1
when do we get the music? When did that come in?
just now.
Listen, I feel like you're usurping this podcast. You're just adding in music. You didn't clear this with me. I didn't check
Oh, I
this
don't have
music
time.
out.
You're a busy man.
I
You
am a
can't
busy
even show up
man,
to the
and I do
podcast on time.
Yeah, that is true. And I just want to take full responsibility for this because I am a busy person, and I hope Davin knew that when he recruited me for this podcast.
I didn't, but I'm fine with it.
I'm sorry that it happens as much as it does. And if you are someone that is like diligent to like being here on time when these episodes air, every single time that it doesn't air on time or it gets moved to a different time, it's because of me specifically. So don't blame Devin, blame me. It's my fault because I have a busy life. However, I do feel as though I had enough of this podcast to make it worth it. But if you don't think I do, I'll happily be replaced and continue to watch and enjoy the podcast.
Everybody write us. Do I get rid of Andre?
Write us to tell you what Devin did to get rid of Andre. If this happens, then I will become a fan and equally enjoy it as much as I did before.
Well,
I won't create all those sweet graphics, though.
You go first. What's your rating?
7. Actually, 7. Let's go with 7. I was going to say 6, so I'm going to go with 7.
I gave it a 7 too.
I like the.
It didn't resonate with me as much as I thought. I was like, it's going to be a good rogue story. It's going to have some cool characters, like rogue. I
think it's like anything with this show, though. There's a lot going on, so like. You don't spend a lot of time really showing like the pain of Rogue's existence, living the way she is, when you only have a 22-minute show with commercials. It's cram all this stuff in. So, I mean, you do get a nice little arc for her. I feel like I would have liked to see that stretched out a little more. Yeah, it did feel like quite an easy. Like she just saved Jean from falling off a cliff, and she's like, that's enough to like, reaffirm that she's okay with not touching a man for the rest of her life or another human being. Like. Just seems a little thin, but we are going with like cartoons designed for children here. So
maybe a better second season episode or something though, where there
maybe or something that was stretched out over a couple episodes. Like maybe we see her grappling with this decision before she actually goes to Adler. It all happens in one episode, really. Like at this, we don't really know that Rogue is too pained by not being able to touch people until this episode. Like if you know comics and you know the X-Men movie, sure, but within the continuity of this show itself, you don't really see her struggling with that until this episode, and it all happens within one episode where she struggles with it, gets over it, and then like is better for it in one episode, which is tight for a 22-minute time, especially when the most amount of time she probably spends in it is 5, maybe less minutes.
Now, considering those constraints, it was effective, but
yeah, I agree.
It did just seem like there was a bit much and a bit of an easy resolution, and maybe a bit too much setup. Like also, they threw that Rogue story into sort of a setup episode for like the Apocalypse one that's coming.
Yeah, it feels like a lot of things are crisscrossing here that don't need to necessarily. Like a lot, especially considering we're going into one more episode and then the finale. Is it the finale,
Nope.
Days Future Past, or the finale?
No, there's those two, and then
one more. Yeah, the Beast Trial. I'm assuming. I just feel like it's throwing a lot at you, not necessary, but yeah.
So if you almost gave it a 6, it's your least favorite of the season so far.
I would say so. I mean, I do like to go to Scotland, but I would like to see Banshee or some other Scottish people show up. I'm sure they're coming down the line.
Oh yeah, Banshee.
Old Banshee.
Black Tom Cassidy wasn't even there. Jeez.
No, well, we get him later with the Juggernaut Bitch episode, and you better have all those sweet memes when.
Don't worry.
When that
episode memes aren't going anywhere.
All right, or sound bites rather, not memes.
Well. It's time for Uncanny X points.
Mm-hmm.
Now we did mention a couple of mine already.
Complaint. I love all the music.
But this
you're always making
it better. Highlight the music in this show. It's so good.
You're just making. You bring the best out of me. You bring the best out of the show. You're adding music. You're adding sound bites. You're a good guy.
We're a tag team.
You're a goat man.
I was thinking about our tag team finisher a little more.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what it's called.
This one's for you, Mark.
Obviously, right? And then, so what happens is, I'll jump on the guy's back and start clawing at his head and neck with my claws, and then you'll teleport because you wanted to teleport to the top rope, and then You'll come flying off the top rope, but not before you yell, "This one's for you, Morph!" And then you do some crazy flying clothesline or something cool, Or
You're kind of describing the Doomsday device that the Doom Patrol or the Doom the Legion of Doom used to do, but
but
without the you being on their shoulders. Yeah,
I'm on the shoulders instead.
I mean, it feels that we should probably work the other way,
and I'll fall on the guy and pin him.
Yes, while hurting you in the process.
That's fine. I can take it.
Right.
I'm Wolverine in this scenario.
That's true. That's true. You are. Who am I? Why don't we just do the fastball special? I'll be Colossus and I'll throw you.
Okay, but we still have to call it "This One's for You," Morph.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, what are we doing here if we're not doing that?
Okay, we'll do it more like Stone Cold Steve Austin style. We'll do our "This One's for You," Morph, and like pour out a beer.
Break the beer, yeah.
Just pour it out.
We got it covered up.
Yeah. All right. That was a bit of a tangent, but now we have it. Our move. So, all right. X points. Who's up first? Me.
Sure.
Me? All right. The spinning action figures have never gone away. Like I mentioned it because they went away for like one episode.
They're back this time.
And they're back. So they just kind of like put them in and out, but I think they've been in most of the episodes. But I was sad when they were gone. So I'm glad that they came back. But I feel like they're not going to persist. But,
I like how sad you are about this like end credits. Like it looks like something from a really bad video game, like from that time period, but you love it so much. And that's what I love about you, Devin. You really like the nostalgia, like permeates your very core, and it's wonderful because I totally relate to it. I totally relate to it.
Yeah,
in almost every way.
Good.
When we hit that Spider-Man animated podcast, that's when the shit's gonna fly, baby.
Oh, then like the roles are reversed, and
I also have a potential. I mean, if we want to keep doing this to the end of time, I have a potential next podcast as well.
After the Spider-Man one, what's that? Well, we should probably do X-Men '97. But
no, totally. But we'll just add that to the yeah. I mean, I guess we could take a break. I feel like we should do gargoyles. I feel like that would be a fun one too.
Gargoyles.
Yeah, we should do gargoyles as well.
So. Speaking of Star Trek,
Jonathan Frakes, is that what you're going to bring up?
Yeah,
gargoyles. Okay.
Well, so is Marina Sirtis.
Right, she's Demona, right? Yeah. And Xanatos is that how we pronounce that right? Xanatos? That's the name of the show?
Yeah, that's Frakes. Yeah. See that
fun show.
That show brought me back. I was like, I think I'm getting out of cartoons, and then Gargoyles debuted, and I'm like, nope, I'm back.
I mean, I would love to do the Batman animated series too. You can swirl that into the Justice League. I'm sure that a lot of people have done it too, though. But the Justice League Unlimited and Justice League cartoon, all those cartoons are amazing. But anyway, X point, your first X point.
To the end of time. To the end of time. That was my X point.
Just so the people that are paying attention, that listen to the show, know that this relationship is not going to end when we hit the end of season 5. This is going to continue. It's going to evolve. It's going to become stronger as the years pile on.
Podcast empire.
We're gonna keep doing it until we get sponsored by anybody. Yep. A guy that owns a convenience store down the street. If he sponsors us, that's it. We're done.
He should sponsor us.
I agree. Joe?
Mm-hmm. Joe.
I assume your name's Joe.
Get on it.
All right. First point. Let's go, Devin.
I did mine. It's yours.
No, what was your first point?
It's been in action figures being back.
Oh, come on. Okay, fine. I'll let it fly. Okay, my
more.
No. We got 5 each. So let's go because I didn't write these down, so I have to make sure I remember what I have in my head. All right, number 1, Apocalypse. I like his design. I like his voice a lot. I like the robotic tinge to his voice. I think there's a level almost like Thanos Darkseid-y, just with the size and with that sort of hollow voice.
But he's calmer, he doesn't have that seething hatred that they have for things,
Thanos doesn't have hatred. Thanos is super calm.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Classic. Actually, we should do this. We should do the Silver Surfer cartoon from the '90s. That would be fun to do. It only had one season, but it's great.
Yeah.
Thanos. Darkseid. Like he's got that big, hollow, imposing, big form, but that hollow voice that kind of like sounds robotic-y. But I don't know, it does a really good job. I really like it. It's kind of reminiscent. There were a lot of villains in the 90s and late 80s that were kind of robot-y. And I feel like Apocalypse is falling into that arc. He reminds me a lot of, is it Lord Dreg from Captain Power? Remember that show?
Lord Dreg was from Ninja Turtles.
No, he was. Yeah,
Captain
he was.
Power villain also called Lord Dreg.
I think it was Dreg. I can't remember the show
and
Captain
Soldiers
Power
of the Future
and the Soldiers of the Future. The villain on that show used to rent them.
Yeah, I used to rent them on VHS, and it said you could shine a flashlight at your TV screen, and weird things would happen.
All right, this is a side tangent that I'm not going to go too deep on, but man, the kids of today do not understand how back in the day, if you wanted to watch a cartoon that you missed on TV, you would have to go buy a $20 VHS that had one episode of the show on it. We're talking about a 22-minute episode for $20. Like, I used to love Power Rangers.
Or rent it.
Yeah, well, I used to love
Everybody
Power Rangers.
rented movies back then, like every store, pizza shop,
that is true.
everything. Like,
but I used to love Power Rangers when I was a kid, and like I had like they released the first 5 episodes, and I think maybe more as VHS with just one episode in each of them that were kind of themed to look like each of, like the first one was the Red Ranger, the second one was the Blue Ranger, so on. But I had like 5 or 6 of them as a kid. I remember thinking like every time I got money from like doing something or chores or whatever, like $16 or something to go buy a VHS tape to watch a 22-minute episode. Like, think about how fucking nuts that is in today's society.
I did that with these episodes.
You could get like, you could rent Netflix for like 2 months for that amount of money and watch everything, you know, like everything. So
those tapes were the worst though. You'd take them out of the case and you'd see that there's like no tape on the roll. You're like,
hardly anything. No, hardly anything.
You can't even see the tape. You're like, where's the tape?
No special. This is DVDs. You didn't get special features. You didn't get anything like that. You watched
the
episode.
If you got the whole episode.
And then he moved on. I remember I had one for the Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad, which was like another offshoot of the Power Rangers, which had one of the Lawrence brothers in it, not the oldest one, not Joey, and not the youngest one, but whatever the middle one was. Andrew Lawrence?
Let's say Matt.
Matt Lawrence? That sounds about right. No, he was the old one, wasn't he?
No,
Joey Lawrence was the old one. Yeah, you're right. I think you're right. So, that's just a side note, but that's funny that, that's what we had to deal with back in the day. But Captain Power, side note, was a really dark and weird show. I mean, the finale of the show involved suicide, and this is a show designed for children. One of the main characters killed themselves in a suicide in a show designed for children.
Shows designed for children weren't for children, a lot of them back in those days. So
it's not Dreg. The villain's name was Dredd, Lord Dredd.
Dredd, yeah.
Dreg was the alien villain that was in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles later seasons, where they got rid of Shredder and they started fighting this alien. They mutated further. All right, back to the point. Apocalypse. I think he's I like the design of the show. I think he's imposing and interesting.
Excellent. Yep, John Colicos, the voice. Love it. Well, we took a couple of mine earlier. I was going to mention that Pyro is not Aussie anymore, but we're not going to count that.
No, you can go for that because I'm not
going to go with that.
I have a point about Pyro as well.
Well, you can save it for yours. I'm going to skip that one. So remember, I've been talking about how a lot of these guest characters are often based on celebrity likeness, either in voice or in appearance, or sometimes both.
You're not going to steal my Pyro one because this might be my point. What's yours?
Adler's Albert Einstein, obviously.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. You got the mustache, the hair, even the accent, everything.
Yeah, like they don't even try. There's like, I love that though about this show. They're finding all these crazy cameos that they put.
Entrance is forbidden.
Forbidden.
Forbidden. Which I thought was funny.
So yeah.
All right. So my point was, okay, think about the way Pyro is depicted. Okay, this is my next point. So we're on 2, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Think about Pyro, how he's depicted with that English accent. Does he remind you of any English actor?
Michael Caine.
No, God, no. Come on. Michael Caine talks like this. It's way drawn out. Unless. All right.
Well, who did you get?
Malcolm McDowell. He is 100% Malcolm McDowell. The way he's.
He even looks like a droog.
Yeah, the way, straight out of Clockwork Orange. The way he talks, the way he's animated.
Good point.
Even the thin frame, 100% Clockwork Orange, Alex DeLarge from
You're right. And I was trying to figure out who he was because I knew he was somebody.
Yeah, no, the second I saw him and heard him talk, I said they're definitely. I don't know if he was an inspiration. If not, he should have been because it really
I think he was.
Yeah, 100%.
Now that you mention it,
that's
a good one. I like that one. We got Einstein and Malcolm McDowell in this episode.
Right,
we'll just say Gisela. What was that her name? Was that her name? Gisela. We'll say she was Ingrid Bergman or something, or Isabella Rossellini.
Jesus Christ, get out of here! The film lover in me is his blood's on fire for those references.
Oh, Okay,
Ingrid Bergman? You think she
No, I
sounds
didn't mean
like
her.
the
I didn't mean
girl
her. I
from
meant her
Casablanca?
daughter, Isabella Rossellini.
That's not her daughter, is it?
Yeah,
Is it? Do I not know
Yeah.
anything about anything?
definitely is.
Isabella Rossellini from Blue Velvet. Her
Is
mother
definitely
is
Ingrid
Ingrid
Bergman's
Bergman
daughter.
or Ingrid
Yeah.
Bergman.
Yeah,
All right,
I
I'm
would
looking
bet you
this
a
up
beer
now.
on it. He's going to look that up while I do my next point.
All right.
My next point is, we sort of stole that one too. I'll skip
Oh,
that
you're
one as
fucking
well.
right. My God, how did I not know that anyway? Sorry.
Hey, man, I'm a movie
Okay.
buff.
I can't
We
believe
can
I
have a
didn't know
movie
that.
podcast too. We can do a movie podcast.
100%. Let's do movies.
Yeah. There's something on the wing I was going to mention, but I'll skip that. Okay, there is another. Wait, is this my third one? Okay, we're gonna go with. There is another comic connection. I looked ahead a little bit, and
You're gonna steal my next
the
one, are you?
oh maybe.
Maybe
I was
what
gonna
is it?
say, the great Len Wein writes episodes of this show.
Oh, okay. No, you're not stealing
A
mine.
lot of them
That's
too
great.
in the
Len
later
Wein is a
seasons.
great writer, very famous for his
Yeah.
work on Swamp Thing and also Spider-Man.
And the inventor of Wolverine.
That's right. He was the creator of Wolverine. I actually have a comic on my wall. I don't know if you can see back there. There's some comics that are signed by creators. That one in the top right corner is the final issue of the Incredible Hulk, signed by the artist Herb Trimpe, who was the first artist to draw Wolverine, because he was drawing Hulk at that time.
Did he not die recently?
Like
just a while
no, it was a while ago. It was like 5 or 6, maybe more years ago. Super cool guy.
Well, that's my point.
I like Len Wein. All right, my point
Len Wein. I never know
is
how to
the
say
use of the last name Gottfried, Adler Gottfried, is likely used on purpose, given the fact that Mystique poses him in this episode. It's likely a shout out to the Earth 616 from the comics continuity, as in that reality, Mystique's confidant and one-time lover is Irene Adler, also known as Destiny.
Quite. Oh, very good.
So
yeah, that's a nice deep cut.
So it might be a reference or might not be unconnected, but
wife actually, they're married.
Mystique and Adler are married.
Mystique and Destiny, yeah.
Ah, cool. I did not know that.
Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah, I should have came up with that one. All right. Well, my next one is these I might even have.
That old boy Juggernaut sure made a mess. About like that Yankee general. Sherman.
General Sherman reference.
Once again, we need to get something about the Southern in there. Just to prove that you're from the South, you have to throw some reference to the South into the Civil War.
The mess he's talking about is like a reference to the fact that General Sherman let his men burn down houses and destroy farms and stuff. So created quite the mess.
That's a deep cut to throw at a bunch of kids in the 90s who were up on a Saturday morning watching an X-Men cartoon. Like, hey, kids, you familiar with that Civil War history?
I'm telling you, the reason I'm good at Jeopardy is from deep cuts in cartoons in the 80s and 90s. I'm telling you, you would learn things.
Well, it's great because, but I mean, the thing is, though, this is like the time. Well, this is the time before you could just run to the computer and wiki it. Like you couldn't do that. I didn't have a computer till I was in college, like an actual computer that I could sit at and look up stuff on the internet. Yeah. So you wouldn't go look at, I remember when I watched Twin Peaks after school because it was on the Screen Channel, and I used to go, and then when I hit the finale of season 2, I was so pumped for season 3 because I didn't know, and then I the next day it started over again. So I went to school and I looked it up to find out why there wasn't more episodes, and found out it was canceled after season 2. And I was incredibly depressed until a year ago or 2 years ago when they brought it back. So it's like back then you couldn't just run to your computer and learn that shit. You had to
run to the encyclopedia.
Wait, get an encyclopedia, ask someone who might know, and then if they didn't or they bullshit you, you'd think it's wrong forever until you found out the true answer. All right, point 4. Mystique's design. I really, really like her design in this show. It is the classic Mystique look with the white, the little, yeah, that's it. The little skull on the head.
Gorgeous.
She looks really, really good. It's a really good design. It's great. Super close to the comic, almost exactly right off the page. I mean, comics and the X-Men movies have kind of given you one version. Yeah, there's Avalanche. One version of her design and her look. The movies have kind of leaned into her just being naked all the time with the blue scales everywhere, which is fine, I guess. But no, I think this one is very reminiscent of her classic comic costume that a lot of people that are old school X-Men fans resonate with. So I really like the design. I think they did a good job on her in the show. The voice is great too.
She sounds a lot like this voice actress that does Jean Grey. I'm not sure if
Probably
that's
the same
case,
one.
but they sound similar.
I mean, a lot of them overlap, so it's probably the same one.
Yeah. Well, my last one is Eric Lewald. I wasn't sure. I mentioned him before. He's the story editor of the show, but I mentioned him as a writer as well, and I wasn't 100% sure about that, so I looked that up and clarified that. His wife Julia writes a lot of episodes for the show, and he writes 2, but he is the story editor on all of them. And of course, the director of every episode is Larry Houston.
Good old Larry Houston.
Yep. He did a good job. They kept him.
He did a good job, Larry.
Yep.
Final point. All right.
Final point.
I had it. It's gone. Cable. I know I talked about it earlier, but I really like this lone gunslinger version of Cable that just sort of shows up. We still don't know what his deal is. We get, like, at this point, we don't know he's from the future. We just assume he's some lone dude out there fighting for mutant rights who's following every lead he possibly can about anything that has to keep mutants down and bringing it to justice, which I like. But he's just like this permeating thing that just kind of keeps showing up. He's got like a motorboat over here. He's attacking people in the Alps over here. He's like over at a cliff over here. Like he's in Genosha over there. Like you don't know what he's doing. It's so vague, and he's just everywhere. That I do like that he's sort of permeating the show, but I feel like
Cable Slender Man.
He could be. But I like that you still don't really know anything about him. He's just some rando guy, some random mercenary that's out there fighting for mutant rights. That's just who knows what his deal is. I don't know.
And his backstory they gave us about how he used to be like a mercenary for the leader in that doesn't really make a lot of sense. I'm good.
No, I'd be curious to see when they get the full story of his origin, so we can see how that relates to this. But I feel as though it's out there. So yeah, I mean, once again, we got a lot going on in one episode. There's Cable, there's Apocalypse, there's a mutant cure, there's Avalanche and Pyro. But to build on Cable and that the sort of world building they're doing, seeing the return of those two characters that were set up just in the background, not important at all in Genosha, is fun. Like there's a real reward for paying attention to this show, and it's cool to see.
Yeah.
Hey, check this out.
Hey, check this out. These are our comic reminiscences and recommendations. And I always choose one that kind of relates to the episode, or very much relates to the episode at hand. And for this one, we're talking about the mutant cure. So I thought I would recommend Astonishing X-Men by Joss Whedon. I know he's not everybody's favorite guy right now.
Recommending something by Joss Whedon.
I know he's not everybody's favorite guy right now.
And monster. No, I'm just kidding. It's fine.
But I like this run of comics, and honestly, I owe this run of comics quite a bit. I fell out of comics in the late '90s because I don't know if you read them, but
sure, man. I was deep. I was deep in the clone. I was deep in the I was deep in the Spider-Man clone saga, and I was happy.
It chased me away.
Happy.
But this is the thing that brought me back. I ordered it in mail. It came in the mail every month, and because I was like a Buffy fan and stuff at the time, and I'm like, I still loved the X-Men, even though I wasn't reading comics. I'm like, I'm going to see how this crossover works, and it's a good story. And just a little excerpt, perhaps, about the cure here. Dr. Kavita Rao invents the cure. And she says, mutants are people no better or worse by nature than anybody else, just people. People with a disease. And then she says, mutants are not the next step in evolution. They are not the end of humankind. The mutant gene is nothing more than a disease, a corruption of healthy cellular activity. And now at last, we have found a cure. So it's not a fake one like in the show. They actually legit did it by in the movie, they used Leech. I don't think they did that in this
one. All right. Well, unfortunately, I don't put as much thought into this ahead of time. I always can forget that we added this as one of our segments, so I didn't think of something right offhand. And I was going to mention the Joss Whedon run on the comic, since it made me think of that as well, but you already got that.
You too. It's got a great cover.
Yeah, it's got some great stuff. However, some of that stuff leads into... Wait, no, sorry. Is it before or after that? Anyway, I'm going to suggest Grant Morrison's run on the X-Men, the new X-Men, which does play a little bit into some of this stuff, and is one of my Grant Morrison himself is one of my all-time favorite comic book writers. He probably is my favorite comic book writer. There you go. That's it.
Ryan
so I don't believe
Xavier's.
any of his comics or any of the storylines from his comics really play into any themes in the show because it came so much later.
Yeah.
But it's a fantastic X-Men story. It's a fantastic Grant Morrison story. It breaks it breaks boundaries on what you expect from an X-Men story and really builds on things in an interesting and dynamic way. And as probably one of the biggest Grant Morrison fans around, I would say it's well worth your time. The trades are out there. Pick them up, read them. It's fantastic. And
there are some really good stories amongst his run. Some really good stories. I'm not a Quitely guy as far as the art goes.
What? Okay, we're not friends anymore.
Well, I just
you don't like Frank Quitely?
I don't like his faces.
I love his work. So, have you read his All-Star Superman comic? It's the best Superman comic of all time.
I don't read DC.
Okay, look, you got to get over this shit. I get it.
It's not a rivalry thing. It's just like I can't handle that many universes. I can commit myself to Star Trek.
It's like anything. Marvel. Just read the graphic novel that tells the full story and enjoy that one story, then move on and enjoy another one. Sometimes the stories but I mean, even X-Men you have to too. There's so much stuff. So much.
Not when you're a purist like me, you commit all your comic time to the X-Men.
Kitty Pryde is in space with Star-Lord. Like, if you read anything long enough, it just gets weird and complicated. So, because writers just take the characters they like and shoehorn them into the stories they want to tell. So, to keep track of continuity, especially after 80 years of continuity, it gets tough. So, I get
not really a continuity wonk necessarily. It's just all the characters I love are generally X-Men and Spider-Man, but other Marvel characters as well.
Answer me a question about the future of this show, because you remember it more than I do. Yeah. The Brood. Do we get them in this?
Oh, I think so.
Cool.
Yeah, I think so.
Cool. All right. So where are we at? Check this out. Okay, what's next?
Hey, check this out. Oh, yeah, what is next? We got more segments. Oh, I know what we got here.
Yeah, it's what's wrong with Andre, isn't it?
What's wrong? It gets worse.
With Andre.
Switch it to the other one. Andre's happy today.
Oh.
Yeah, what's
working with Andre?
Well, sir, I have discovered the television show Peacemaker. And I have to say, it is fucking fantastic. James Gunn, in my mind, can do no wrong. Even the movies he's done that he's written that he hasn't directed have their own issues, but they're still great in premise. The movies he's directed, like Rainn Wilson's Super, Slither.
You're a Romeo and Juliet guy.
Romeo and Juliet, Toxic Avenger 4.
I love Toxic Avenger. Oh, did he only do the fourth one? I only think
he did. He only did the fourth one. And also, he shoehorns Lloyd Kaufman makes appearances in all his movies. You haven't noticed.
Yeah.
I thought, so I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2 are fantastic films. Fantastic. I didn't have a lot of hope for DC's cinematic universe. I really hated Man of Steel. I really hated Batman vs Superman. I actually kind of like Joss Whedon's Justice League, as we got like a happy Superman, which I was missing. And oddly enough, I did really like Zack Snyder's Justice League because it was so epic and filmed so well. Wonder Woman was great, but I don't know, DC to me was running to catch up with what Marvel was doing. It was sacrificing a lot of character building along the way. However, James Gunn's Suicide Squad is, if I had to make a top 5 favorite superhero movies of all time, it would be in there. It's amazing. I wrote a review online when I came out, and I said, if you would have told me I'd be sitting in a theater with tears in my eyes, like crying from the emotionalness, while a group of mercenaries are fighting a giant starfish.
See, that's
I would have said you're crazy, but man, he can bring this wealth of humanity to these characters. It's funny, there's action, but there's such a through line of real human emotion in this stuff.
See, that's what I didn't get from that movie. Maybe it's because I wasn't real familiar with the characters, but yeah, I just couldn't connect to any of them.
Man, really. The end scene, I don't want to spoil anything, but when Ratcatcher when the Ratcatcher makes her big thing and all the rats are there, and it shows her with her dad, and her dad gives her the speech about why rats are looked down on by everybody, and that they still have a purpose. They're still important, and they can still find their way. And that's the whole theme of the show. Even all these broken monsters who are these people can still help. They can still find a way to be useful. and to help other people. It's so touching. And it was just so good. So like when the Peacemaker show was coming out, I was super pumped for it because I like John Cena. I think he's a fun actor. He's my dream casting for the Thing in the Marvel Universe, by the way, if I could choose. Like the show is amazing. It's fun. It's heartfelt. It's really good. The opening sequence is probably the best opening sequence I've ever seen in a TV show. It's amazing. Have you seen it?
Like title sequence or like the first
title
scene
sequence
of
when the show opens?
Oh, no, I haven't, but I saw you.
Man, watch it. It's so good, and it's amazing. I mean, I'm really digging the Book of Boba Fett too, which is out. I haven't watched last week's episode. I know the new one drops tomorrow, so I got to catch up. But I'm really digging that show too. And if you don't like it, well, fuck you. It's good.
I'm not a Star Wars guy.
What? What?
No, man.
Oh my god. Okay.
Star Wars is orcs and elves in space, man. Like as a Star
you not
Trek
like orcs
guy.
and elves?
No, not really.
You like Lord of the Rings?
No.
What are we even doing here?
Fantasy's not my jam, really.
Really? So fantasy,
like this, like the straight up kind of elves and like D&D style fantasy. No. I always like things that were more scientific based, like Star Trek and even X-Men with genetics and things like this. Yeah.
That makes sense since you're such a Star Trek fan that Star Wars
yeah.
really
Star Wars just it loses me with like
all right.
Not being Star Trek enough.
Anyway, the Peacemaker show is extremely good. If you love the Suicide Squad movie, the James Gunn one, not the garbage David Ayer one, which sucks. Don't watch that. Watch the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
By James Gunn. It's fantastic. And it will make you appreciate characters that you never thought you'd care about in a new way.
Yeah, I thought Weasel or whatever his name was funny.
For what, the 5 minutes he's on the stage?
Ferret, yeah.
Yeah, well, Idris Elba's Bloodsport is a great character. I mean, not the Spot. That's the Spider-Man villain. Polka Dot Man, Ratcatcher 2.
Oh yeah, I liked him too, actually.
King Shark, Harley Quinn. They're all wonderful. Rick Flag, Peacemaker. Just great. It's fantastic. Go watch it. It's as far as superhero escapism goes, it's one of the best out there. You'll enjoy it and love it. King
Shark was lame.
Fuck you. Fuck you. He's voiced by Stallone. He's wonderful.
Yeah, well, yeah.
No, but
I just didn't find the lines they gave him funny. They were a bit too cheesy.
No, he's got some great stuff. Bird.
I feel like we could argue about this all day.
We sure could, but it's the first thing that made me feel like DC has potential to feel like the Marvel experience in its own way. I mean, DC doesn't have to be the same. It doesn't. And they lean super hard the other way. They're like, Marvel's having fun and bringing humanity, but also humor. And DC's like, we're not doing any of that. They did with Wonder Woman.
Humanity or humor.
Yeah, that's why Wonder Woman and Shazam were fun, because they added humor and humanity. But they're like, we don't need all that. We
only gray.
Yeah, let's make
gray
the Superman.
Grayish brown
movie dark and depressing. That's what you want out of your Superman. Dark, depressing, and no humor or humanity whatsoever.
Can we put Superman in a gray suit like Batman?
Oh, for fuck's sake.
That would be
Jesus
better.
Christ. Just because the Batman movie does well doesn't mean everything needs to be a Batman movie. Especially Superman, for fuck's sake.
That's what I've said. Anyway, we don't want to get on a big tangent here, but what I've said about DC, one of the reasons I don't get into it is it's too dependent on like two characters that I don't really like. So it's like, if you don't like Batman and Superman, DC probably doesn't have a lot to offer you.
I like them. I just don't want to see every character painted with the same brush. I don't want to see Superman being Batman, but from Krypton. I don't want to see, Aquaman being Batman from Atlantis. I just want to see characters that are different and unique and, work with each other. They're not just all sad and depressing.
Yeah.
All work and no play make Jacques a dull boy.
Right.
What's working with Davin? The Moon Knight trailer. I don't care about Moon Knight, and I didn't think I was going to be excited for it, but I am. That was a very good trailer.
Does it not look at the end when he's punching that thing on the ground like it's a werewolf?
Yeah, definitely.
It does look like a werewolf. I'm very excited. No, Werewolf by Night is getting his own Marvel series.
See, that's what I thought too, but then the
it may connect to this, but it's going to be it's not a series, it's a special. It's like a Halloween special that's coming out on Halloween next year. I can't pronounce his name right. The guy from Old, Gabriel Ba Garcia or something is his name.
Okay, I don't know.
He's from Old. He's from Mozart in the Jungle on Amazon. He's in a lot of stuff. That new M. Night Shyamalan movie, he's in that. He's in the John Stewart movie Rosewater.
It's gonna play Jack Russell.
Yeah, he's. I think he's the Werewolf by Night. So whether I assume it may connect to this, especially with them bringing.
Well, they're all going to
Blade
be the
in
Midnight Suns eventually, right?
Probably in their own movie, but I mean, they did tease Blade. I know it's dumb, but they did tease Blade in the Eternals, and so they're going to their, they're leaning into their supernatural world, which I'm excited for. So.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Midnight Suns. So Ghost Rider on there, the Punisher. Geez, anybody.
Ghost Rider. The way I used to pick, I like the Ghost Rider they did in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show, which I know is out of continuity, and I assume if they're bringing him back, I can almost 100% guarantee you that it's going to be Norman Reedus playing the Johnny Blaze version of Ghost Rider, which is fine by me. But.
Well, rumors have it that Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider, played by Nick Cage, is going to be in Multiverse of Madness.
No, come on. There's no way.
Oh, they're bringing in all these old cameos for that movie.
Well, rumor has it there's a lot of people going to be in it. Really?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I don't know. I trust Sam Raimi and I trust Marvel movies, so whatever they do, I'm sure I'll enjoy.
But yeah, Moon Knight. That's what's working for me.
Yeah, it's a great trailer. It looks really cool. Oscar Isaac's English accent is interesting, but I'll leave it at that.
I was wondering about that myself. I'm like, I didn't know he was.
Well, I love Ethan Hawke.
Oh yeah.
So, and he's the villain in that, which is awesome.
A fine Nova Scotian himself.
He's not from Nova Scotia. He just
lives here.
Did we talk about
bought
this
an
before?
island? Yeah.
Did we talk about this in the show before?
I think so, but you ran into.
Oh, that might have been. I think that might have been when you and I when you were on my podcast, but. Maybe
it was you and David Cutler that talked about.
Yeah,
that,
me and Dave did on the newest episode of the show. But he has a summer home very close to my parents' house. Him and he hangs out there in the summer. So he's, from what I understand, he's a super cool guy. He picks projects very very loosely. I'm very excited for his next movie, The Black Phone, based on a Joe Hill short story, which I'm a big fan of his as an author. But yeah, it looks really cool. I'm excited to see what they're gonna do with it. It looks super fun.
What the devil could have happened here?
Why don't you boys calm down?
We will not calm down because we're partying like it's apostrophe 97.
We shan't.
I don't really have any news.
I have a small amount.
Okay, you go for it.
It's kind of related to the series, but it's sort of related to the vibe of the series. Mm-hmm. So in the X-Men comics, there is, X-Men 97 is the series that is going to be picking up where the animated series ended on Disney Plus. However, in the comics, there's a comic series called X-Men 92, which has different storylines taking things that came in later X-Men comics and bringing them into what if they were introduced back in the 90s.
In Battleworld.
Yeah, similar-ish, yes. But they are doing a new series where they're doing a House of M, I believe, version of what would have happened if it happened during Chris Claremont's run in the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
So that is coming out somewhere soon. I believe the series X-Men 92... House of M or something like that. So it's them kind of painting those later stories with the brush of that time period. So if you dig the aesthetic of this show, that is very much the aesthetic of what the comics were like at that point. So the two kind of go hand in hand.
Well, because I didn't have any news, I thought we might pontificate on things we wanted to see in this upcoming show, whether it be storylines that came after the show. And it's funny because one of the things I thought would be nice, because one of the things I've noticed about Xavier's mansion in this show so far is it's not really a school. There's nobody there but the X-Men. And
good point.
They even mentioned that it's just like pretending to be a school, essentially. But it'd be nice if they actually made it a school
instead of a secret training facility for a mutant army.
But I was thinking if they actually kind of lean into the school element, and because they're going to have expand the mutant roster and show that there's a lot more of them in the world than there were earlier on in the show and stuff. But I was thinking this would be a cool place to start. Do like a Riot at Xavier's type of thing.
That would be cool. Quentin Quire and all that stuff. Casanova, what's her name?
Yeah,
Cassandra Nova. Yeah, Cassandra Nova. Xavier's twin sister. That would be cool. Zorn, all that stuff would be wonderful. I would love to see that appear in a future series. House of M would be interesting. I'm not sure if Scarlet Witch was introduced in the show.
Gee, I don't know either. But everyone knows who she is now. You wouldn't have to do any work there.
Yeah, for sure. So House of M would be a very interesting take on it. what they're doing with when the Phoenix comes back and all, then the X-Men versus the Avengers storyline would be interesting. The what was that story called?
AVX.
AVX, yeah, that's right. All that stuff would be very interesting. I mean, there are stuff too, like Strife and these characters. Was Strife ever in the series?
Jeez, it's right around that time. He might be.
Okay, what I would very much like to see, and this I think would be a great product of that time period, with the comics from that time period and bringing that storyline in, would be the Age of Apocalypse. I would love to see that on an animated series.
Wow, that could be interesting.
Get a whole season of the alternate history from if Xavier died early on and the X-Men evolved in a different way. That'd be awesome.
I'd like to see them adapt the rise and fall of the Shi'ar Empire storyline. That was a cool
Onslaught. Story. I would love to see Onslaught in this show. I think Onslaught would be a great combo.
Very I didn't really like the earlier Onslaught stuff because it was too 90s. But like they brought him back recently in the comics, and I like what they did with him better there.
Even Nate Gray would be cool, the X-Man. Like that'd be fun to throw into the show too. So it's all stuff related to around that time period. That was kind of goofy 90s stuff. The Axe.
We have Cable, so we can have Nate Gray. They can do something there.
Yeah, more Deadpool will be fun. There's lots of stuff they can do. Let's do it.
Where you going?
Well, you gotta bring it to a close, Gambit.
Well, we can't do this all night.
We can't do this all night. So you can contact us at the X-Men Review Show at gmail.com. Tell me if I should get rid of Andre. Does Andre bring anything to the podcast?
That's right. That's right. Help me fight for my job.
You can follow us.
I'm Facebook. Also just really insecure, so I just want you to tell me how great I am so I can stay in the show. So.
Or you can say the opposite too. You can lie and say you're doing really good.
That's right. And then my eventual death will be in your hands.
And then you can listen to us. X-Rated, the X-Men Animated Review Show, wherever you get your podcasts. I think that is all we have to say about The Cure. Unless you have anything else you'd like to... Oh, you know what? We didn't plug our stuff. Let's plug our other shows. We almost forgot. Can't believe that. That would have been a crying shame, especially since you have a new episode up.
I do. My solo podcast, the Graphic Histories podcast, in which every 2 weeks I speak with somebody related to comics or sci-fi, relating to just kind of an in-depth interview, usually about an hour plus long, about their lives, but where they got to in the story of their history and that sort of thing. So in the newest episode, part 1 just came out this past Saturday, which I speak to David Cutler, who's the current artist, a good friend of mine, former roommate of mine, who is a current artist with Marvel Comics, most notably known recently for recreating the design for Thunderbird when he makes his return to the X-Men comics, as he does so in an upcoming comic, I believe is dropping in April, Giant Size X-Men Thunderbird, in which they bring him back from the dead. We talk about that in the podcast. It was a long discussion, so I broke it into 2 parts. The part 1 mostly deals with Dave's upbringing in Newfoundland and some relation to hiding Indigenous heritage in Newfoundland and what that meant, as well as finding comics, some Stan Lee talk, which Davin and I talked about personally, and some other stuff like that. But yes, Dave has done some work a lot lately with Indigenous representation in Marvel Comics, including recreating Thunderbird. He also designed the costume for Joe. Shoot, I'm forgetting his name right now. The Native American Captain America. It's Joe something.
Jeez, I don't know his name.
Shoot, I forget. I knew it too. But anyway, so the Native American Captain America, he designed the costume for that. He designed the costume and is doing the art on that Thunderbird issue when he comes to Giant Size X-Men. He also, Marvel just had a comic that dropped this past week called Marvel Voices. This is a series in which they do comics featured on minority heroes within their universe. They did one on Black characters. They did one on Native characters back in the day, which Dave had a part in as well. However, this new issue, which just dropped, Dave does a story about American Eagle, who is an older Marvel character, a Native American character, who is unique in that his powers don't come from some kind of stereotypical god or ritual or native-related origin. He's just a native guy that fell into some radioactive goo and got powers. And it's a very interesting sort of take on that character. He also has a story coming up in Darkhold comic. I think it's one of the Darkhold spin-offs that's going on in Marvel right now about Black Bolt, which he drew as well. So Dave's a great artist, a great guy, very smart, very funny. and we have a great conversation. So part 1 is out there now. The Graphic Histories podcast is available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Castbox, and a big one I'm forgetting. iTunes? No, I said that one already. Anyway, there's one big one that I'm forgetting that's in there as well. Stitcher. So yeah, check that out. And not this Saturday, but the following Saturday will be part 2 of that conversation. So, and on my website, graphichistories.com, all the old episodes are there, so you can go back and listen to all my old episodes when I talk with a lot of people that have been related to Marvel, DC Comics, and sci-fi and stuff in general. So even Davin, we have an interview with Davin as well.
He's burying that one though. That episode's going to be buried
It was a great
deep in
talk.
the dark web.
It was a great talk. I learned much about Davin, including how to pronounce his name correctly.
That's true. It was fun. I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed your episode with Dave. You should. Everyone should definitely go check that out. I enjoyed it. Check out I have a new episode of Locutors of Trek up there on the tragedy of Star Trek. We call it was a bad planet jerkface. We call it episode.
It's a great title.
Yeah, well, it explains a lot. Yeah, go check that out. It was fun. We just had a trouble with trivia with our new host as well. You can check that out here on the YouTubes. And yeah, check that out. Check out my cousin's podcast, Live Long Podcast. They're over there right now doing Deep Space Nine at 9. So when we shut her down here in a second, pop over there. Hear about Deep Space Nine. And they do stuff over at Supermator Brothers as well. And I'm hosting their next Trivial Debates.
I have to get on one of those sometime soon.
Yeah, this one that we have our contestants all lined up.
Someday.
But I think that brings us to a close, does it not?
It does. Although we should maybe mention what the next episode is going to be. I never thought about that, but we don't normally do that. So next episode will be episode 10. Is that correct?
Come the apocalypse.
Come the apocalypse, in which we learn more about this mysterious robotic voiced villain from the future. Actually, not from the future.
Not to be confused with Androcalypse Now.
Yes, that's true. He is right here and ready.
Well,
and willing,
everybody,
for all governments.
Catch you X time.
X time.